Welcome to the Margin Business Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Today we have Gresham, Gresh, Harkless. Should we call you Gresham, Gresh? What do you prefer?
Either or works. So what they say, you can call me anything, just don't call me late for dinner. That's what they say. So I'll go
Amazing.
for that.
Great. And Gresham is the CEO of iamgresh.com and b16m.com. And what exactly he's doing in these companies, we will find out a little bit later. But now, Gresham, please tell us a little bit more about yourself. And you can see already, Gresham goes a lot easier for me, so I will give it Gresham right now, okay? Sorry to interrupt your video. I just wanted to let you know that I really appreciate you having you here right now and watching this video. And I wanted to let you know that our partners from Helium 10 offering now the best Amazon tools to improve your sales, an amazing offer of 20% off for 6 months, which will give you a $120 value. Just click the link below in the comments. One more thing. If you like our content, please hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. Thank you. Now enjoy the video.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Omar, I truly appreciate you for letting me get the opportunity to be on your show, and love everything that you're doing and putting out. So I have two kind of things that I mostly focus on. I have a digital marketing company called Blue 16 Media. So we focus on web design, support, SEO services, basically helping people to get found and be online. And like kind of a core part of that, I have this marketing philosophy or gospel, I guess you can even say, saying that everybody's in the media business. You are a media company. So a lot of what you do is should be to create content, information, valuable things for your target audience. Sure. So my media company is CBNation. So I have a daily podcast, blog posts, video content, all to help CEOs, entrepreneurs, and business owners to succeed.
Wow, it's a daily podcast. That means, like, is it live or do you record? Do you pre-record?
I pre-record it just because it's a lot, as you know, in putting together a show. So usually I was, about 30 to 60 days at sometimes in advance for the actual recording.
Okay, great. That's already, wow. That's very ambitious, because I'm doing the podcast myself, and sometimes if I do, like, let's say 4 podcasts in a week, it's already, wow, my schedule is, I'm already scared, because it's, now I have another podcast after you. It's sometimes it's like that, but this is even better, if you have like a double one, because then you're already in the flow, and it's really nice. But yeah, that's amazing every day. I need to look how to do this, and maybe I can do this as well, because it's pretty good like this, So your original story, where are you from? I mean, where are you located right now? And what's your story? How did you go to SEO, podcasting, all of this?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm very much so a busybody. I think that's the best way to kind of, describe it. But I'm in the Washington, D.C. area in Alexandria, Virginia. And I've been here pretty much since I was 5, as long as I can remember. So I grew up in Northern Virginia. I went to school in Washington, D.C. I went to Howard University for my undergrad. I went to Georgetown for my master's. And actually, when I was in undergrad, I came in as an undecided major because I wasn't really sure exactly what I wanted to do. But for me, what kind of, I guess, set me down the path of doing all these things like the website, the SEO, and all of that was that I started what eventually became a family newspaper, because my dad was in the military. He was in the Air Force. He went and got an assignment to an entirely different country when I was 10 years old. So what I did in, busybody form or an entrepreneurial form is I started then a family newspaper. I would kind of collate and aggregate, I guess you can even say, all the different things that were going on in our family. I would open up Microsoft Word, I put clip art in, and we would take those newspapers and send them to my dad in care packages. And mind you, this is pre Skype, FaceTime,
Yeah, sure.
WhatsApp, all these tools that we have. This was literally me on a dial-up internet connection, and putting out all these things. Yes, absolutely. And the other kind of niche that I did was I sold those subscriptions to the newspaper to family members and friends of family. So I bring all that up to say, like, when I was trying to figure out, like, what path do I want to go down? Who am I? Like, what kind of makes me tick? What's my story even? It was that thing that I did when I was 10 that I said, hey, it's something you're not doing because it's cool. You're not doing it because it makes you a lot of money or accolades or anything like that. It's doing it because I was just interested in. So every time I'm trying to think of what is the next thing or what I should kind of focus on, or, what's going to bring me back to myself, it's that story. So, years, later, I went and was laid off from 2 different jobs, bounced around a bunch during the economic crisis. And I found myself at home with my parents, and I was cold calling at a sales job that I had. And I cold called somebody who was in a business networking group. And he said,
Great.
For me to get in the door, I basically would talk about his website. I said, hey, you don't have this set up right. You don't have that set up right. And that was just my goal, to get in the door so that I could hopefully sell him advertising. It didn't go the way that I'd hoped, and I got in the door. But he actually said, hey, you know about this stuff, and hey, I would love somebody to help me out with that stuff. And that became, one of my first clients. And it just kind of went down the line from that. I didn't even know it was of any value, but it was just, me kind of being a busybody, being curious, and just kind of going down the line from there.
Okay, great. I think this is definitely very interesting with the journalism at a very early age. So I see you're standing as well, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I do the same actually. So I really like while talking to stand. So
yeah, it brings a cool energy.
exactly. So just a few more questions for you. From as well. So because we go back into maybe childhood, who do you wanted to be, like when you grew up? I mean, like, did you had already some entrepreneurial, some futuristic maybe tendencies to say, yeah, that's what I want to do? Or
yeah, it's funny that you say that. My tendencies, I realized later on, I didn't know then. And I don't know necessarily that I grew up in like like my parents were like, hey, you need to own a business or anything like that. So I want to say it probably wasn't as cultivated as it probably could have been. But so for me, when I was growing up, I wanted to play basketball. I'm only 5'9", so I was 5'9" since I was probably like 10. So I was super tall. I thought I was going to be super tall. My height didn't catch up with my aspirations. And then, when I ended up going to school, I ended up becoming an English major. So I came in as undecided. So I thought I was going to go to law school. I took the LSAT and, took that a couple times, bombed out a couple times, got a lot of rejection letters. So that didn't work out. I thought things like teaching, like one of the things that I want to talk about too, is that in the very beginning of what I was trying to do, I explored a lot of different things. So I've been an adjunct professor at a university. I used to run sports camps all across Northern Virginia. So I used to teach 2 to 5-year-olds all about sports. For them, it's kind of just how to stand up and be coordinated. But I did so many different things. So it wasn't as if I said that, hey, it's something that I'm interested in. And I started to see like, hey, this is something that I did before I even wanted to do it, if that makes sense. But it wasn't something that I was like, hey, I want to be the next, Mark Zuckerberg or something like that, and take over the world.
Okay. So yeah, this is definitely a good reply. I really like that. So when did you first start learning about your craft? So at some point you said, because you mentioned that you did the cold calling, you went into the door and tried to sell advertising. You mentioned advertising. You mentioned that your websites. So did you already knew about how to handle websites? How what was the first thing that you went into all of this media business? I mean, I understand completely that after the call, when he told you need to present yourself, outside a little bit, that you get recognized, and we are all media companies, as you have mentioned. I understand completely, and this is where you most probably took off with the podcasting. So the SEO keeps rolling, everything else keeps rolling. But how did you get into all of this? Because digital marketing or digital agency is something very special. It's not let's say it this way, it's something you can do for 1 year Most of the people don't go very far. It's unfortunate, but it's like that. Not many will make 10 years or 15 years, you know. But yeah, how did you get in, and what's your plans for later on? This is the second question afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate that question. And yeah, I was definitely somebody who did like to tinker with a lot of things. Like I built a computer in high school. So I was always into technology. But to answer your question, I mean, I think the probably first kind of hands-on experience I had, my mom eventually started, I guess at that time was a side hustle, but eventually became her full-time embroidery business. So I did a lot of stuff for her at that time. This was in college, and even in college too. In high school, actually, I took computer science. So there was some kind of interest there. But at that time, I mean, I've been in business for 10 years. So when I was in college, there weren't even Facebook pages at that time. So there was Facebook groups. So I do remember doing, like, I was an ambassador for a pre-law program called Clio that I was going to go into law school. So I used a Facebook group to try to round up people to go to different local events that were happening in Washington, D.C. for pre-law, people. So there were kind of seeds planted, but honestly, I think that it's just one of those explorations and growth with digital marketing in general. So when I did make that phone call and I did talk to the person, it wasn't even something that I thought was of value. I literally was using it to try to get into the door to do something else. And it was him that kind of opened up my eyes to it being of value. So that was probably the time where I really started to like hone in on the craft and start to learn more and say, hey, this is something that, I can focus on. There's something that can, I guess, help my dreams come to fruition of maybe being my own boss and being an own business owner. But it was like, but I don't think I would be doing myself a good service if I didn't say, like, there was definitely some things that I did prior to that helped me to get to where I want to be. And as far as like where I want to go next, the second question that you asked, it's really around like building different kind of media brands and media companies around different types of things that are of interest to people. Like I have this personal brand statement where I say I create, collect, and connect to help people and organizations win. So really what I want to do is to leverage media, leverage that journalistic interest to be able to help people to succeed in so many different ways. So I see that as being the future in the next 5 to 10 years of really launching some, additional, in media properties that can help to make that come to fruition.
I think that's great, because this is as well the purpose of this podcast. What we're running, Margin Business. Margin Business is something else. It's Amazon listing optimization, and everything that help Amazon sellers to sell more. But the podcast is as well for digital entrepreneurs or anyone who wants to go into entrepreneurship, or for CEOs who are already big and wants just to see that everyone else got the same issues, and sometimes, you sit just down and you say, oh, it's going up and down. The next day is again good, and next day is again down. It's just like that. So you can just see what others are doing, and you're not alone, and we support each other, and we can build a community and see all of this happening in front of our eyes. And there's different people who get interviewed from different countries, so it's everywhere the same. Everyone needs hard work, dedication, and discipline, and this is what we all need to do. So moving on to your two companies, I just wanted to ask you before, what are your favorite brands? I mean, in terms of companies now, from your point of view, who really did doing an amazing job in the digital online world. Maybe not these monstrous companies, because it's like they tell you, yeah, you need to do more marketing. Yeah, it's easy for you guys because you're so big already. So somebody who really is really good and know exactly what they're doing and are not that big.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. I'm gonna, if it's okay, can I start out with one big one?
Don't worry.
That I'm currently okay.
That's okay. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay, I'm reading the book Shoe Dog right now, which is the story of Nike, and Phil Knight. So I'm really fascinated.
Shoe Dog is the name, yeah.
Shoe Dog, yeah, Shoe Dog. Really cool book. I call them CEO hacks just because they're things that you can kind of learn from. It's a good behind the scenes of like how he built the company, and you see all the things you don't hear about, which is why I love everything that you're doing. You hear the struggles, you hear the lack of funding, you hear somebody knock it off and being all those things you don't hear about behind the scenes are huge. So I think, seeing the brand and what it is now, but hearing those behind the scenes is really, really cool. Me going through that book and kind of learning that. But one local business that I really love, because like I mentioned, I'm really big into like building media companies and how that looks different for everybody. So it could be a podcast like you've been able to do phenomenally. But one kind of local plumber actually has a group of Facebook groups around different cities in the area. And what she's doing is basically connecting business owners and building up the business community through these different Facebook groups. And I mean, they range from, 10,000 members to, and on up of wow. people that are just trying to connect and do business. But it started to its own, business, and it's called the Social Collective. But I really love the fact, because as I started to do a little bit more research and homework, you start to realize that she was basically a co-owner with their husband of a plumbing company. So understanding how important it is to really have a presence locally is huge, and how they kind of translated that into what they've been able to build is really awesome. So there's definitely, so many different stories related to that, but that's one of them that come to mind right now.
Yeah, this is very interesting when there is something sticking with you and you say they really did an amazing job. And I think it's an amazing job because, it's not everyone who can build Facebook groups to that size, especially from a brick and mortar business, which has nothing to do with the internet. But now actually it's really the transition from brick and mortar into the internet is as well amazing. Now we cannot really say that it's only brick and mortar, but you understand what I mean. So yeah, please, your company now, Blue 16 Media and CBNation, what is it that you can help people with to do better in their companies? How could you best help? And what is your superpower within these two companies? I mean, I can already tell because you're very energetic. You have 1,600 podcasts. That means you are throwing the media out very, very well and very detailed and structured. And this is how it works as well. But please tell me in your own words.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we do, especially from the Blue 16 Media standpoint, is really helping people to build what I like to call a foundation. So I give a talk often where I say everybody's in the media business, and I compare your marketing strategy to basically you creating your favorite dish. And whatever that might be, I always go to sweet potato pie because my mom's sweet potato pie is my absolute favorite. So it could be, chocolate cake, it could be whatever it is. But what I really recommend to people is that they look at building that out just like they're building their own recipe, and they're figuring out what ingredients are essential. You have to, put all the things in place. You have to mix it perfectly. Most people, when they want to build things, they'll go to the grocery store, they'll go to grocery store hungry, so to speak, and they'll put everything into their cart. I need to do a podcast. I need to write a book. I need to have a Facebook group. I need to have a YouTube channel. They do all of the things. And where I think it hurts definitely people is that they don't have a real honest look at the time and energy that it puts in, but also the resources that you have available to you. So a lot of what we do is to help people build what is that foundation for that marketing strategy that you're going to have. So if you think of it just like a dessert, think about it as like the crust, the thing that's going to hold everything together, because you want to have that strong foundation so that you can get those clients and customers, so that you aren't overrun by those opportunities. So we focus on the website, we focus on the website support, and we definitely focus on the SEO as well too, because I feel like those are basically foundational things to help those brands grow. If you really think of sometimes the best and most popular media brands, that they have a strong social media presence, but you don't know where they're sending people to. If you have a really strong podcast, you're getting all these downloads, but you don't necessarily have a site or a business or anything along those lines connected to that. It's really thinking about that strong foundational piece and how that goes hand in hand with all the work that the ingredients can do so that you can, at the end of the day, hit your goals.
Okay, that's already really good. So, and there is, I mean, the two companies are actually, they provide different services and have different values, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
And
already, yeah.
Yeah, and Blue 16 Media is more service based, and
Okay.
CBNation is more product based. So we produce a lot of content, we create a lot of content for the business community.
Okay.
And then, like I mentioned offline, we were talking about taking a lot of the 1600 episodes, the things that I've learned from the 1600 episodes. I'm hoping to launch an ebook that talks about a lot of those things. I have a list of 100 and plus, nuggets and things that I've learned from the podcast. So hopefully working on creating like eventually like a library of information that will be accessible to people that are looking to kind of grow that community. But it's definitely more product based versus a service based business that I think Blue 16 is.
So 100 nuggets is really good. That's really amazing. I mean, I would love to hear like at least 3 of it.
Yeah, 3 of them. So 3 of my most favorite ones are the one that probably came to me, and I'm actually in this process now, is this concept and idea of spaciousness. The whole idea is that, especially if after you get past, I would say, the first 3 to 5 years in business, often the things that will get you to where you want to go are going to be different than the things that got you to where you are at this present moment. Definitely. So you have to create sometimes spaciousness to understand what those things are, to understand like what all the aspects of business are. So I think it's so valuable when you create this spaciousness, that kind of hustle mentality. And don't get me wrong, you still will work hard. It's just a different type of hustle. It's a different type of hard work that you're putting into your business. But I think you have to create that spaciousness. You have to pause. You have to get away sometimes from your business so that you can actually work on your business rather than in your business. So that's one of the most, powerful things that I've, heard consistently throughout the show. The next thing I will say, and we've heard it so many times, is the power of morning routines. And what I've definitely learned from, interviewing people is that it's not necessarily that it has to be one specific thing for your morning routine. The idea is that you have that routine on a regular basis, because what it does is it allows you to be more present. And sometimes the problems that we have to solve, the fires we have to put out, if you're worrying about, hey, what time am I going to wake up tomorrow, when you should and potentially should put that on autopilot and know that your alarm's going to go off this time, you're going to wake up, you're going to do this, you're going to wake up and do that. It allows you to be more present. I think it allows you to get that space, again, going back to the spaciousness, so that you can tackle the day and you can have more energy to put towards those problems and things that happen. And of course, the strategic nature that you need to be to work on the business. And if I could pick, one more thing, is one of my favorite things to say more than anything else. And it's that if you run your own race, you can't lose. And what I mean by that, and one of the best questions that I ask on the show is, I ask everybody, what does being a CEO mean to them? It's called the I Am CEO podcast. But the spirit of that question is that there's not one set way to run your business. And I think, as we're seeing in so many different ways, entrepreneurship is growing, where you have people that are going to different countries every week, where you have people that are in the more traditional brick and mortars. You have the people that are everything in between. You have the people that are one-person $1 million businesses. You have the person that are consultants. So understanding that your race is your race, and once you get clear on what your race is, the way that you execute that race is going to be different. So I think those are probably the 3 biggest things that I took away from the podcast. And of course, there's loads and loads and more. I could go on and on and on, but I want to make sure that I hopefully get an opportunity to come back on.
No, this is what I want. 3 it's really good already. And the last one, I like it a lot, because, and this is always what I think everyone is fighting with a little bit, because you tend to look at other races, and you need to look at your race. And that's the most important one, because if you tend to look at other races, you will forget about your own, and maybe you fall down or something like that. But this is what we don't want. So you need to really take care of yourself. And others have other ambition, other God gave them maybe more, gave them maybe less. We don't know about that. So this is we leave this to God and really focus on our road. This is I like this really a lot. So where can anybody get hold of you who's interested in meeting you, maybe talking with you, maybe ask about your services?
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely mentioned it at the beginning. Like I have a site that is kind of a hub for everything I'm working on. It's imgresh.com that has links to Blue 16 Media, to CBNation, to the podcast. It even has links to the 100+ things that I learned from the episodes, and also, you know, the ebook and all those things will be hosted there. So that's the best place. But of course, you go to blue16media.com, cbnation.co too.
Great. And you need as well to update us on the book. Once the book is coming out, the book is called I Am Gresh, or
it's going to be called the I Am CEO Handbook Volume 3. So it's going to be an adaptation of that, and then I'm going to build up from there.
Amazing. I really like it. I really like it. So one more thing, if you had the attention of the whole world for 5 minutes, what would you say? What is your message to the world?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of my favorite quotes, you know, in addition to the, if you run your own race, you can't lose. My thing is, don't tell me the sky is the limit if because there's footprints on the moon. And I think it's that mentality that what I believe is truly an entrepreneurial mentality, where there's so many people saying things that can't be done. They're saying that you can't do things. I heard it. I'm sure you probably have heard it as well, Omar.
Sure.
And I think it's those people that decide that, hey, I'm going to try and see. And it's okay to fail. It's okay that things don't go the way that you want them to go, but there's no worse pain than the pain of regret. So if you say that, hey, I am going to try and see what I can do, I'm going to see how far this business can go, I'm going to see how far this organization can make it, what impact I can make, then I think that you're truly making a big change. But I think you're also symbolizing somebody who desires to go for it. And I think that means more than everything else. So if I had the eyes and ears of everybody, that's something I would say, whatever that thing is, whatever your God-given thing is, as you talked about, Omar, go for it, try it, and see. And I think that you can get a lot farther than sometimes we give ourselves credit for.
Great. I really like it. And there is as well what we do at the end of the podcast. Normally, we put your picture, and when we put a quote on it, and we put it everywhere on the social media. So for you, it most probably will be the race. You have to run your own race. I really like it. You know, this is definitely the quote what I'm gonna use for this one. Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much, Gresham. I appreciate this was amazing. You know, it's we should do another one. A little bit down the line, because I'm very interested how your companies are going to triple and quadruple, and you know, success is on the way when you really want it. So for everyone, this is how you should do it. You know, check out Gresham. He's definitely very ambitious. I've seen not too many who's doing one podcast a day. So really, content monster. So yeah, thank you so much, Gresham. Really.
Omar, I appreciate it. I might get a t-shirt with Content Monster. I like that.
That's good. Let's do Printify, you know? I'm always doing
that. There we go.
Great.